Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the AVGL College Smite Grand Finals here at hi-rez Studios. My name is J-Mac Tucker. Alongside me, this is going to be Mr. Anatoly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good right now, J-Mac. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to get into the finals here at AVGL, the Collegiate League for the Smite Championship here. It's going to be really exciting to see these two teams.
Yeah, it's going to be Tarrant County College, the seeded #1 all throughout the entire championship process against Stony Brook University. These guys have been battling it out, have not actually played against each other the entire time, so this is going to be the first time that they're meeting up.
And this is going to be a long journey for how they got here. These two teams went through 5 different stages, and they're up to the final one right here.
Yeah, they started out all the way back in the group stages where they had broken down into conferences and divisions. They did a round robin amongst their divisions, and inside of those divisions, they played against each other in all best-of-3 sets. Did not drop a single game throughout the entire one, either of these two teams. When it got down to it, they ended up both being the #1 seed in their division. Going into the round robin stages for the Gauntlet, they went undefeated there, 3-0'd throughout their round robin against the #1 and 2 seeds. Into the Gauntlet finals, they hopped straight into because they got the first seed. They had to completely bypass everybody else. Got to move forward, didn't drop any games into that one, and now, after taking on the semifinal matchups, made it all the way here.
And there's a lot of notable players here for these two teams. One player in particular stands out above all else. You might recognize him from last week in Oxygen Supremacy, DayToRemeber.
Yeah, DayToRemeber, and he's been around the AVGL for a long time. This is his 3rd season and trying to go for his 3rd championship, as he was on team sponsors all the way back in Season 1 if you were following us at that time. Last year, he was on Texas A&M Pistol Pete's. They were here last championship, and they dominated Nodes Gaming, and now he's coming back for his 3rd time.
A very aggressive hunter, DayToRemeber. You know, this squad right here for the team of DayToRemeber in Tarrant County, they've been together for quite a long time, you know, going for their 3rd championship between DayToRemeber and Osath and a few other players as well.
Yeah, I mean, between DayToRemeber and Osath, they've been around for the 3rd season for them. Dingodile actually coming back for a 2nd time with this team and in the AVGL as well. He's going to be their support player for that one. Puckm's getting his debut here in our championships. This is the first time he's actually made it this far. And Cardiac was a champion back in Season 1. Didn't quite make it last time as he and Puckum were on the same squad in Season 2, but now Cardiac's getting his chance at his 2nd championship.
But up against DayToRemeber is going to be MandoWarrior in Stony Brook. He's going to be paired in the dual lane with the Guardian Mortbklyn, the mid laner SirBomberMan, the jungler who you might recognize, Sam for Soccer too. One is currently unavailable, and the solo laner for that team is going to be Giggle.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very aggressive team. MandoWarrior, normally a solo laner, but in this season came around as an ADC player for the team. And really, he's kind of shown that he's a little bit more of a passive hunter, but he can be aggressive when his team needs him. And when you pair him with somebody like Mortbklyn with the god pool that he has available to him, this can be a very aggressive duo lane.
Oh, I'm really excited for a lot of aggression between whether it's solo lane or in that duo lane. What have these teams been running specifically?
More than anything, Mando and Mort and all of his squad, they've been running very aggressive gods. They want to win the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game, so that way when it comes to the late game team fights, they just kind of dominate. They don't have to worry about it. Where when you take it to the other side for Tarrant County, they're more passive, especially in that dual lane. They run very safe gods. They just want to farm up, and then they want to win.
Well, early versus late game, we're going to see how that's going to pan out as we're going to be waiting for these players to get ready for the picks and bans. But between these two teams, they've been practicing against each other for quite a long time. Not necessarily the same teams, but the players themselves. You know, they're heavily involved in the Smite community, whether it's ranked or the Challenger Cup series as well.
Yeah, and I know a few of these players on Stony Brook, and as well as a couple of them on Tarrant County, do play against each other in the weekly Smite Central tournaments just to get some fun practice in that. But there also are some Challenger Circuit players there, as you mentioned, DayToRemeber, but Mortbklyn and MandoWarrior are also on the commitment committee. They were there for this entire season. They didn't quite make it, but these guys have been playing together for a long time.
Well, funny story actually about Stony Brook is that Chaos, the mid laner for E United, actually attends Stony Brook as well, and he was actually tweeting about wanting to just stop by and basically kind of say, hey, what's going on? Can I play?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we do not allow the pro players to jump in onto that one. That's kind of one of our little requirements for Smite is no pros. You may be that good, but we can't let you quite be there just yet.
Well, maybe he can do some coaching lessons over there for the boys out of Stony Brook. But how can more players and teams get involved for the AVGL?
Well, all you got to do is just keep up with our information onto that. You can go on our AVGL College website, and we keep full updates as well as on our Twitter. We have multiple games that we do a part of. We did have our Paladins LAN. Just 2 weeks ago, they were playing during the same time as the Paladins Masters. For Smite as well, we do every split, kind of. So we do a spring and we do a fall season. This is the 3rd season for us, and we should be coming back in the fall with another one. So really, if you want to get involved, all you got to do is just keep updated, keep following the players, keep following the league, and we'll have updates almost every single week, keeping it going.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Going to be able to attend this kind of event too. If you want to get into the action, just go to their website, check it out. Make sure you too play with a lot of your teammates and a lot of your friends.
Yeah, and you don't even have to be in the same college to play on these teams. In fact, I don't think any of these players are all in the exact same college. It's kind of one of the uniquenesses about it is we don't college lock these. We are a region-based league more than anything else because we want to promote as many people coming in as possible. We had almost 70 teams sign up this time around, and that's just people from all over. We have had full college teams, we've had partial college teams, but these two, that's mostly just people who've been playing with each other for a long time.
Wow, that's really impressive to see out of these teams, and I'm really excited to see how they're going to stack up against each other because you did mention that they are undefeated because they haven't played against each other quite yet. So one of these two teams is finally going to reach their first loss tally.
Yeah, we'll see exactly who that's going to be. It's really up in the air between both these teams. A lot of the casters with AVGL and a lot of the people behind the scenes, they've kind of been throwing it back and forth. Nobody's been able to give a clear 100%. These guys are going to win, these guys will lose. It's kind of everybody's really hoping for that game 3 that we can really expect from either of these teams.
And when I'm looking at it on paper here, I gotta give it to Tarrant County, you know, just based off of the players, their history, being able to in the previous seasons. How do you think Stony Brook is going to be able to really get into the heads out of Tarrant County?
Really, it's going to be who plays into whose hand. You know, with the early game meta or the early game strats that come out from Stony Brook going against the late game of Tarrant County, it's really going to be who's going to force the other team to play their game.
So looking for more of the kind of global presence gods in the early games versus more of the like late game healer styles?
Yeah, it's really going to be who gets their comfort gods and who takes the comfort away from them. Susanoo going to be a massive god that both these two teams are either going to look to either take away from the other or look to pick up first.
Definitely, Susanoo, one of these gods that is highly regarded, not just on the PC side of things, but console as well in this previous weekend. And we will have some console matches for you after the AVGL. Make sure to stick around after that. It's going to be a best-of-5 Elevate versus Astral Authority. But going back into this AVGL match, as we're still waiting for the players to get set up here, this whole like 5-week-long process for the stages, how have these teams been preparing for themselves? Like, do they scrim like daily? How do they do it?
They kind of figure out who they might want to scrim if they even end up doing scrimming. I think Tarrant County may have done a couple of little scrims here and there between the championships, because really for a lot of these teams, they kind of outclass their competition throughout the entirety of it. As I said, we have almost 70 teams, and they're not all going to be big winners on that one.
Definitely takes a toll on you mentally to be able to go through that many teams, but finally, only 2 teams remains out of those 70, so finally, we're going to be heading into picks and bans for game number 1, Stony Brook against Tarrant County.
Yeah, and like we said, Susanoo is probably going to be one of the first guys that we're going to see either picked up or banned amongst these teams. That's really going to be the high contention. More than anything, Tarrant County wants to get a comfort god for pucmm, as he's not playing in his traditional solo lane role.
pucmm definitely having to try to adjust as he's going to be in the jungle. A lot of similarities depending if you want to play the kind of assassin style in the solo lane, but pucmm tends to play more of the warrior guardian style.
Yeah, I mean, really his big claim for the jungle is going to be getting these very highly mobile gods. Like we said, the Susanoo, the Ratatoskers, the Circuits, but as we can see, Susanoo going to be the first one taken off the board.
Not going to be available there for Stanford Soccer either, so trying to figure out the right strategies to go. Both of these teams, Cabrakan is another one of these gods that has a lot of flexibility between the jungle, solo, as well as that guardian role, so it's not uncommon to see Cabrakan this early banned away.
And I also love saying that because Giggle has been a monster on this Cabrakan in the solo lane. He's been one of the driving forces for his team, picking up this tanky guardian. But looking as well, Fafnir taken away, and that's more than anything a shot at Dingodile.
Fafnir is one of these guardians that control a lot of space. We've seen a lot of Sylvanuses, a lot of Terrors, but Fafnir brings a different element to team fights where it's all about the objective control between your huge AoE damage from your ultimate as well as that coerce AoE.
Yeah, and as we can see, Chang'e, the first god picked up here. They had 2 jungle bans on the side of Tarrant County and decided to pick up their jungler first and foremost. pucmm may not really be the Chang'e player that I see. I usually kind of see that more out of Sam. And in response, Stony Brook going to pick up the mid lane Zeus.
You know, ever since DJ Pernicus on Eager started to run this Chang'e in the jungle role, a lot of players and teams have tried to replicate this. We'll see if Tarrant County is going to be successful.
Yeah, and in response, I mean, one god that we haven't really seen a lot of because he was banned a lot was Thanatos. But at the same time, in the AVGL, Thanatos during our Gauntlet Championships, had a 0% win rate, so I really don't expect either of these two teams to pick it up. It's not really even a Sam for Soccer guy that I see. With these three gods picked up, I'm looking at maybe a Wheelish would be a possible pickup, as we do see that Sylvanus locked in from Stony Brook. This could be looking towards that Wheelish jungle.
Especially if you're trying to go for that early game aggression. Chang'e's going to have a decent amount of mobility using the passive and having the bunny come back to her. But either way, it's going to be the Medusa locked in for that dual lane. Tarrant County looking to try to get some good jungle fights with that Petrify.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a god that Day can farm on, do what he wants to do. And we saw him pick this up a lot during the Gauntlet stage. We saw this Medusa and we saw the Ram. But we're going to see the Ravana lock in. This is not typically a god that I see on Osath, but Ravana is a little bit stronger as of recently, and so we're going to be seeing him picked up.
Absolutely. You're talking about early aggression. What other god besides Ravana do you want to face in the soul lane with that early aggression? The only other god that comes to mind necessarily is that Osiris pick.
Yeah. And on the side of Stony Brook, they're going to lock in that Thor, get a big mobile jungler on the side of Sam for Soccer. Wasn't quite the Wheelish that we thought, but Thor is definitely a strong god for him. We'll see exactly how he's going to aggress into this early game.
Good setup for the Zeus. You know, Zeus is one of these guys that wants to get the damage off, and Thor is a great setup god because not only does he have that long-range artillery ultimate that can be used between Gold Fury or the Fire Charm, but he also has the Tectonic Rift. So he could just straight up walk up to you, stun you, and Zeus can easily follow up with all that damage.
Yeah, they're going to really try and do something strong in the mid lane here, and so Tarrant County is going to have to be really careful with who they pick up here. Gods that are still available for the mid lane that I know that Cardiac is available on is the Vulcan. This is kind of a fallback god that he tends to go on to, because we can already see the Khepri and the Hou-Yi have been taken off of the board, and the Hou-Yi is definitely a shot at MandoWarrior.
Absolutely, especially with Medusa already being locked in for DayToRemeber. You're trying to get the best possible matchup, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe even a Cupid ban, because a Cupid for Stony Brook here, that's going to be a lot of area of effect control between the Fields of Love, the Wrath of Terra, and don't forget that Lightning Storm from Zeus.
Yeah, they really want to be able to control some kind of space, because you can see the Zeus and the Sylvanus, lots of AoE. They really want to try and control as much space as possible, and they're going to take a shot at MandoWarrior yet again. His Rom has been fantastic, and with Day already picking up his Hunter, he's just going to make sure that they can't get their other safety pick.
Well, different style between the Cupid and the Rom. Rom provides more of that single target focus fire that you're really looking for the late game. So taking that option away from MandoWarrior, the Medusa is going to be more impactful in that stage of the team fights, but Cupid has been locked in, just like I predicted.
Wow, Cupid locked in again, another big area, and this one's going to have the cripple on it. They're going to try and make sure that Medusa can't run away, force those early purification beads and those big petrifications early on into the fights.
It's going to be interesting to see how Tarrant County deals with this, because not only is there a lot of area of effect for Stony Brook, there's that double sustain between the Sylvanus and the Cupid. Once the Cupid gets around level 12 to 14, those hearts are going to get maxed out, and you're looking for the early grouping up by Stony Brook.
Yeah, I mean, early aggression, like we said, that's the name of the game for Stony Brook, so they're going to look to get those big kills in the early stages of the game. And with that Thor being locked in earlier on, Sam's going to be making those level 5 ganks either to this dual lane or over even to the mid lane here, as we can see Ymir locked in.
A smart pickup here, because you're looking at the immobile gods from Stony Brook, Zeus, Sylvanus, Cupid. They don't have jumps or teleports to be able to get away from that Ymir wall, but instead of going for the Odin, going for the Ymir, getting a lot of magical damage and a good amount of space control with that ultimate.
That's a Xing just got locked in. We have Xing, Ymir, and Ravana.
So I'm thinking, what, Chang'e mid here, Ymir jungle, Xing support?
I think this is going to be Xing. No, it probably will be Xing support as the Ravana is locked in.
Yeah.
We're not really going to see Ravana go anywhere. This is a very tanky composition as well coming out from Tarrant County. They're going to need somebody who can really start shredding through this, and they're going to lock in the Amaterasu over in the solo lane for Giggle.
And that's going to be an interesting matchup. Ravana wants to play aggressive early on, whereas Amaterasu is just looking to farm safely and get to that late game team fight. But it seems like Amaterasu is kind of that odd god out, because there's a lot of early aggression from Stony Brook with the rest of their composition, whereas Amaterasu is going to be left high and dry if Tarrant County decides to lean on that solo lane matchup.
Yeah, they're really also trying to look for something to get themselves in the later stages of the game. As Cupid kind of falls off, his ultimate becomes a little less relevant as you can start picking up those the extra cooldown on the purification beads. Make sure that you can get out of that a little bit better. You can pick up the sprints if you really want to. We haven't really seen sprint kind of be an item that people really go towards, however.
Now, not unfortunately since Season 4 changes. It does have a huge impact, though, once you do upgrade it, providing you with that Fatalis effect for you and the rest of your teammates. But what I really like here for Tarrant County was the fact that the Xing 10 has been locked in. you're looking at the Furious Roar in the late game. So not only is there not too much late game damage out of this Cupid, but it's going to be mitigated that much harder from the Xing. Yeah,
they're really going to want to have to snowball in the early stages of this game, get SirBomberMan some kills on this Zeus, get MandoWarrior ahead on this Cupid, because when they get to late stages, when they have just this Amaterasu and the Zeus as kind of like their big damage sources, their big control more than anything else, it may not be enough, especially for how tanky Tarrant County is.
Well, Stony Brook has to be careful because I'm looking at their lineup. They have to be grouped up, I feel, to take full advantage. If you leave the Medusa versus the Cupid alone before the sustain options come online for the Cupid, it feels like DayToRemeber should win that. And then in the soul lane, the Ravana versus the Amaterasu, I gotta give it a little bit to Tarrant County, at least in the side lanes.
Yeah, I mean, just over, as you said, in those two side lanes, this is really the advantage for Tarrant County that they want. They're going to definitely try and stop the early aggression that comes out of Stony Brook by picking up these high-pressure early gods.
And the early game versus the late game is going to be the theme between Tarrant County versus Stony Brook. So as we're still waiting to get into game, guys, we're looking at this composition, this Chang'e. There's a lot of magical damage here for Tarrant County. You know, Ravana is not going to be providing that late game oomph that you're really looking for. Medusa, though, she's going to be left unchecked, and that's going to put a big dent into Stony Brook, I feel.
Yeah, especially with the change to Petrification not too long ago, where it does 75% of the damage on the ultimate if they're looking away. That's still a lot, especially when you hit that level 20 mark. 75% of 700 is quite a big number.
Oh yeah, especially against these squishy targets, you know, looking at specifically Cupid and Zeus to be able to try to survive some of these team fights. And now, guys, we're going to be bringing you the first game, Tarrant County versus Stony Brook.
Yeah, it is going to be that support Ymir, but pucmm actually going to be taking this Ravana into the jungle. And Osath on the Xing. God, I really see him more often than the Ravana.
We haven't seen too many warriors in the jungle quite recently. The last time I can remember was like back in Season 1 where warriors were being run. Hercules every now and then was interestingly running up. AFK was running it a lot, where they were running the warrior junglers with the support kind of utility styles in the mid lane. So Ravana is going to have a lot of pressure as he rotates.
Yeah, we've seen some Guan Yu jungles a couple of times in the AVGL, not from either of these two teams. So warrior jungle is kind of not the pressure that you necessarily want, especially Ravana. He's really only got that slow or that root very early on into the game.
Trying to find some kind of action here in the mid lane. It's very difficult to really truly contest a Zeus with that shield. You hit that shield with the in-hands, you're going to be hitting all 6 minions as long as they're stacked up, which is why Mortbklyn decided to go into the mid lane at level 1.
Yeah, and the strategy you can already see there, hold on to the solo lane. pucmm going to be falling for first blood, and like we said, this is what Stony Brook wants.
Not able to really get the better end of things, taking a quick spill and getting the first blood is Sam for Soccer, and a Thor that gets an early first blood, looking to try to extend his advantage even further, invading the speed buff.
Yeah, and only on the bottom side as well, the red buff got taken by Stony Brook. You could see that the smalls were already gone, and this is something that DayToRemeber's been doing, especially when he's left alone, is start at the red, take the smalls, then move over to the purple buff small minions, and then going into the lane. So while they didn't get the smalls, they were able to invade on at least 2 of these buffs on the bottom side.
Able to get a lot of these neutral camps, getting the oracles as well for Stony Brook. Stony Brook looking really strong here. Sam for Soccer just now hitting level 3, still struggling to get any levels. pucmm at level 1, which means that level 5 marker, you really got to be worried if you're on the side of Tarrant County, because that Thor global ultimate is coming at a quick rate.
Yeah, and with those buffs taken away, that's a lot of experience as well, taken away from pucmm. And since he's already been first blood in the early stages of this game, that's going to make it that much harder for this Ravana to really get online.
Having to try to look for any possible ways to farm, having to go for his back harpies. It's hard to try to look for a farm in the mid lane when you're up against a Zeus. The Chang'e doesn't have her heal necessarily online quite yet, maxing out that first ability instead. So any sort of poke done by SirBomberMan is going to be felt at full force.
Yeah, you can see he's already just getting a little bit of free farm for himself in the mid lane, more likely to go back and help out Mando on that purple buff. And so far, we haven't seen any action over here in this duo lane as well over in solo lane. However, Osath getting very low, but this is kind of the quirk of Osath that I've noticed a lot with his play is he's fine losing the early stages of the game. This is what he's always doing, no matter what god he plays. He kind of falls back, plays real safe, real passive, and even if he dies once or twice, he still comes back and becomes the late game monster his team needs.
Well, Xing is one of these gods where as long as you're able to hit all the minions, you're going to be stacking that passive and having a lot of HP 5, and recognizing that his jungle might be in jeopardy, he elected to go for that early mana chalice.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we've seen from a lot of the Guardian players in the solo lane, is they're usually expecting to lose that blue buff early on, so they pick up this mana chalice to make sure that they can at least have some kind of sustain. And Xing, a very mana-intensive god in the early stages of the game, having to use 1, 2, maybe sometimes 3 abilities to clear out that wave.
Dingodile and pucmm both level 3, staring down Mortbklyn down in that mid lane, and just like that, still kind of aggressing towards that solo mid jungle side is going to be Stony Brook because of the pressure that Sanford Soccer could potentially apply. So having to retreat, Tarrant County can't really contest around that corner, worried about that double AoE ultimate combination between that Zeus Sylvanus.
Yeah, and you can see over in that duo lane, both those players were fairly low. They did expend an ult for ult into that fight to see what they could do. However, DayToRemeber actually going to be coming on top of that one a little bit more HP, and he still has the mana and Osath. Unfortunate for him. Going to get hit with that dazzling offensive, and he will drop. Second kill going over to Stony Brook.
A lot of players underestimate just how much damage dazzling offense really does in the laning phase, despite not having any items necessarily. But coming back into the lane with the warrior type, getting that 40 physical power is definitely a good option, especially when you stack up the Amaterasu passive. You're going to be taking 10% additional damage.
Ooh, and unfortunate for Osath is he didn't have enough to be able to pick up his boots. His tier 3 boots are not online yet, so in his teleport being down after that rotation into there, as we see in the sky, Sam's looking to come down onto somebody. puckm's going to be the first one aggressed onto, forced to use that purification early, and Sam is going to be able to take away. No, he's actually not going to secure that speed buff, but forcing the purification off of pucmm is what they want.
Which is what is going to allow Mortbklyn to play very offensive here, and without pucmm having his ultimate quite yet, as he's still sitting at level 4, it's going to be an easy opportunity to get at least one guaranteed crowd control, unless there's a clutch overhead kick by pucmm.
You can already see in the graphs, gold difference 1,500 in favor of Stony Brook. That's from the first blood, but also just from the buffs that they've been taking away and really the efficient farming that this squad has.
So early game versus late game, that's been the theme of discussion heading into this first game. And so far, Stony Brook has been playing the early game very efficiently, and they still have that late game option between this Amaterasu and the Zeus. And like we were talking about before with the soul lane matchup, we thought it was going to be the Ravana the whole time around, but pulling a fast one on us was Tarrant County, switching things up, and I think it's been kind of hurting them in the long run. Yeah,
I'm not really a fan of these warrior jungles, especially on pucmm. Like I said, he really needs those strong mobile assassins on board for it. The Circuits, the Ratatoskers. I'm surprised with those two gods available, he didn't look to go towards them.
There were definitely some global options in that regard. Like you mentioned before, Thanatos was an option, but the percentages hasn't been in the favor of these AVGL teams. You know, high risk versus high reward hasn't been paying off. So electing to go for something that's a little bit of an odd curveball, maybe trying to pull a fast one.
Ooh, DayToRemeber forced to use that ultimate over, but Mort's going to get stunned out by the petrification, so that's going to really just settle the aggression in that duo lane.
A nice option from DayToRemeber, not panicking, not using that purification beads, recognizing that his ultimate does provide him that CC immunity, and even dashing away before that heart bomb hits, because that could have also been a stun.
Yeah, and I do like that he didn't elect to use the purification there. He saw the rotation from Mort coming in, but he elected to hold onto it because Mort, all he's got to do is make the rotation back over, and now he's going to have those beads if he gets rooted in place, if he gets pulled by Mort.
That double tap onto pucmm doing so much damage. Sanford Soccer looks like he's maxing out that hammer, and without Chang'e being a very high level, like we mentioned before, if you're getting poked out by Zeus, you're going to feel it, but you can't forget that you're also going to get poked out by Thor.
Yeah, one thing that we didn't mention was pucmm actually elected to go onto this Bluestone Pendant as opposed to the standard Death Stole that we see from Ravans. What would kind of be the mindset of going into this item?
It seems that they're trying to get maybe some lane pressure in the level 1 2v2, but it didn't go their way. Up against a Thor that's passive also gets you increased damage based on the near gods, and because how weak Ravana is at level 1, not having too much mobility, it was very easy for this Amaterasu Thor to cut the distance, especially with the aura.
Yeah, and we can already see over into the solo lane matchup, Giggle almost at his full second item already, does have that Emerald Talisman, give him that magical protection that he's going to need. And we may not necessarily see the Pestilence from here. It could be possible that we might see a Heart Ward come early out from the solo. And this is something that I haven't really seen a lot of solo and really supports go in between, is you pick up one aura item, I'll pick up the other, because we're going to kind of split how we fight in these big team fights.
One player comes to mind is Cyclone Spin, that's been experimenting with this option, like you mentioned before. It alleviates a little bit of the itemization choices for your support because you're spreading out those auras. Not only that, Amaterasu basically heals herself every time she stands, which is getting that extra health regen. So as a result, having more MP5 and Hardware Amulet just allows you to continue to spam that ability.
Unfortunate down on the bottom side, speed buff was actually stolen away. Sam threw that hammer over the wall to steal it away from pucmm, so that's another speed buff taken away from this Ravana.
That's just one of the most unfortunate things for a jungler. You're doing your buff, and then no matter what ability that it is that goes to the wall, if that steals it, you're just like hands in your face, like not again.
Yeah, it's just that I can't believe he's in my jungle again, guys. Why is nobody stopping this Thor? But I mean, this is just what Sam does. Is like we've been preaching all game. Early aggression. They're making the most of it. Cardiac gonna take half his health from that double tap.
Like that, one hammer taking half of the health. Forced to go into that health potion just to sustain a little bit up. Having to use multiple heals to drain that mana. Recognizing just how much poke that was important for Stony Brook, finding a nice little pull.
Great pull over the wall. Dingodile going to be the first one taken out as SirBomberMan. Still has election to go into that ultimate. They're just going to get their one pick trying to bait out this Go Fury, and now they're going to go ahead and start it up.
Didn't even have time to use that meditation. This Ymir getting heavily focused. Great pull by Mortbklyn. It's up to DayToRemeber to try to stop this, but Stanford Soccer zoning with that ultimate.
Going to go into the air, going to land down. Purification still available for DayToRemeber, but in the backside, pucmm's going to see what he can do. Sam's going to be able to pick up Day, and pucmm just barely going to be able to get out, except the dot from Manda is going to be able to pick him up onto that one. Cardiac seeing what he can do against Mort, but it's just a Chang'e, and he's very low in mana. He's going to get chased out. Great immunity to be able to get away from the double tap damage. They may be able to turn this with Dingodile coming back.
Great play by Stony Brook. They secured the Gold Fury. They find 2 kills on top of this. They're looking so strong. There's just no stopping them ever since the start. Finding the first blood onto pucmm, finding multiple speed buff invades, and now finally securing their first Gold Fury around the 9-minute mark. Stony Brook off to a great start with a 4,000 gold lead.
I mean, Mort has just been playing fantastically on the Sylvanus. That raw pull through the wall, that is what you want from your Sylvanus players. He's able to grab Dingo out of position and just CC him to death. There was nothing for him to do.
The combination between poking out Cardiac in the mid lane earlier on and then pulling Dingodile through the wall was a great spark to Stony Brook securing that objective. And as a result, not only are they down 4,000 gold, but that 6,000 experience mark has just been playing so well into the hands of Stony Brook. Now hitting level 12 is Giggle, gonna have that second relic opportunity for himself. And at this point, with the Amaterasu hitting level 12, this is where things are going to look really scary for Tarrant County, because that's when the Amaterasu is going to start rotating.
Yeah, and that's when the auras are going to start being picked up as well. Really give that extra movement speed and extra power on the Amaterasu, which makes her really strong. This is why people really like playing this god, is you get that passive movement speed or that passive power depending on which stance she's in, and that's going to be the big impact for Stony Brook in the late stages.
Stony Brook allowed this Amaterasu to get off to a great start because they paired up with the Thor in that solo lane. No real contestment between the Xing and the Rava, but in that duo lane, still looking for more poke is DayToRemeber, trying to be really aggressive, but MandoWarrior is not really deterred. Just going to drop some hearts.
Yeah, I mean, this is what these two players do, is normally they're both very passive farmers, but they're trying to really outdo the other one. Mort going to get frozen in the mid lane, but he's going to pull Dingodile back in, knocked up, nowhere to go. The Zeus ult and the detonate going to be able to take down the support one more time.
A lot of damage out of this level 11 Zeus that has the pen boots online with the Dynasty plate helmet. Ymir doesn't even have that magical defense, truly just going into the sovereignty instead, it seems.
Yeah, and he has that Mark of the Vanguard, which is going to get that true damage mitigation, but very early on, Portal Demon gonna be picked up by Stony Brook, and Sam, he's looking for more aggression, looking at pucmm.
He's not done yet. He's a greedy little Thor. He got the Portal Demon, but he wants more. The left side of mid Harpies was not available for him, but wrapping underneath the Oracle is gonna stun out too.
And unfortunately, Day's caught on the wrong side of the wall, and the lacerate into SirBomberMan, gonna be able to get up that kill.
Unfortunately for DayToRemeber, he did not have the Aegis Amulet available at that time. He didn't bat once hitting level 12, so without that Aegis Amulet, there's no real way to survive against the Thor Zeus.
Yeah, I mean, he did have his Purification up, but unfortunately, like we said, he was on the wrong side of the wall, so there was nowhere for him to go anyways, realizing that all he could do was try and turn in 5, but unfortunately, there was 3 members there to stop him.
And with DayToRemeber dead, this gives free reign in the duel lane for MandoWarrior, finding an extra free wave, getting the tier 1 tower, adding an additional 500 gold to the side of Stony Brook.
Yeah, and that's going to pull them almost over 6,000 gold into the lead, pushing closer to that 6,500 mark. And they're really winning the early stages of this game. They are playing their composition exactly how they want it. Sam may not be hitting that Tectonic Rift on that one, but that's not going to deter him. It's 4 members grouped up here in this mid lane.
With this kind of a lead, why wouldn't you be grouped up in the mid lane? Stony Brook not alleviating any kind of pressure, and with the rotation from MandoWarrior, looking like they want to try to go for this tier 1 mid tower. Gold Fury is not responding for another minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah, there's too many people up right now on Tarrant County for them to really look to elect into this mid lane tower. They want to get at least one or two good picks, especially if they can knock out Dingodile, because he still has that wall available. So even if they aggress, he can drop that wall and stop the auto attacks on the tower.
It seems like they're waiting for some power spike items. Just now finishing off that Breastplate of Valor was Giggle after working on that Pestilence, which makes sense still. It doesn't matter if it's the Pestilence or the Hardwood Amulet, as long as you are getting it for Mortbklyn, because you want to spam that abilities for the Wisps, the Hearts as well from MandoWarrior. And not only that, the Cupid still working on that Fatalis. And I'm expecting once that item's complete, that's when the grouping up is going to start occurring. Yeah,
and he's going to, with that Pestilence, going to be able to stop some of the healing coming out from Osath, going to be able to mitigate a little bit of that passive, and more importantly, stopping really any healing that Cardiac has in that mid lane. Chang'e, not the best of the healers, but it's that quick burst, the ability to use it on a 5, 6, 7 second cooldown every so often. When you start getting those 180 plus heals off that quick, it's like dealing with a Guan Yu.
Still waiting for Golf here to spawn. Stony Brook electing to look to invade the speed buff. pucmm taking a lot of damage, but so is Sam for Soccer.
Yeah, the ultimate's going to come down from Zeus. Unfortunately, Dingodile's the one caught inside, 2 picked up by Osath, but it's not going to be enough. Knocked up by the Wrath of Terra. Sam comes crashing down. Sam still low in HP. He's been fighting, and unfortunately, Osath not going to be able to get away for the time being.
Oh my god, the Chain Lightning doing a lot of damage. SirBomberMan with that double kill. Osath and pucmm has to back, but the timing of this couldn't be any worse, and just like that, Giggle is going to put more pressure just to show Osath who the real boss is.
I mean, he's going to stop him from backing, and that's what you want, is now that he couldn't back at that time, now it's going to be a delayed response from him coming back to this mid lane. That's going to allow them to push up this mid lane tower and bring another 500 gold into their pockets.
The cohesion and teamwork from Stony Brook is just firing on all cylinders. They did a good job getting that tier 1 mid tower, even trying to get the tier 1 on the right side. Sam for Soccer made that rotation, but it forces out the teleport from Osath just to defend this, and without that teleport being available, now the rest of Stony Brook gather up for their second Gold Fury.
Yeah, and as you can see, they were trying to zone out Dingodile yet again. Mort sitting at a very advantage here. However, pucmm trying to make his route into here. Gold Fury is going to be secured by Stony Brook, and Giggle going to be focusing down Dingodile. The wall's not going to save you, and SirBomberMan 6-0 now on this Zeus.
There's just no advantage for Tarrant County to get anything in return because they got the Portal Demon. Stony Brook got the Portal Demon earlier on, so not able to return that kind of gold investment back into their side. Tarrant County just has to watch from a distance. There was no Petrify available for DayToRemeber. The Waxing Moon wasn't up to be able to contest that objective, and there's no burst damage to try to steal this away. So Stony Brook is really running away with this, almost with a 10,000 gold lead.
Yeah, I mean, they used that Waxing Moon over at the speed buff to stop the invasion there. They expended too many ultimates to stop a speed buff, and because of that, like you said, there was nothing for them at the Gold Fury. They really should have just, honestly, only threw maybe 1 or 2 people in there to try and stop that, but they instead elected to all go into there. Unfortunately, Dingodile, the one caught on the wrong side of the wall.
Osath trying to survive, but getting pulled back in by Mortbklyn. pucmm right around the corner, but this is not a 2v3 that Tarrant County should be taking.
Especially only with a level 11 on this Ravana. He's 2 levels down compared to Sam, and 2 levels down on a Ravana versus 2 levels up on a Thor. That's a big power spike.
Especially with the itemization from Sam for Soccer, hi-rez Lament, and the Brawler's Beats, that continuing the theme of the anti-healing, really trying to shut down Cardiac here.
Yeah, gonna knock up Giggle into the air, rooted in place by pucmm, but it's not really gonna do anything, as Giggle's just gonna be able to drop into that second aura form and really heal up.
With the Portal Demon now respawning, this is what Stony Brook elected to do. They wanted to apply the pressure in the Soul Lane, waiting for this objective to respawn. Gold Fury still not up for another 3 minutes, and more pulls from Mortbklyn.
He's gonna force the ultimate out of the Ravana. Unfortunately, pucmm just not able to do anything, elected to go into it. However, good petrification, not gonna stun anybody, but it's gonna kind of dissuade the aggression from Stony Brook.
Oh, double tap through the wall without stunning the setup. Sam for Soccer is just on point, the top of the player damage. And if we look at these charts here, the healing is starting to come online here for Cardiac as he's growing in the levels. But look at Mortbklyn here. He's basically doubling the Chang'e.
He's not only doubling the Chang'e, I mean, look at Mort's damage compared to Dingodile's damage. Hold on, Osath gonna be getting 4 members onto the side, and there's nowhere for him to go. Giggle's gonna be able to finish him off and drop this tier 1 tower.
And now getting the stuff after the stuff. Stony Brook continuing the pressure in the Soul Lane, grabbing the tier 1, but finally, Tarrant County, they find a little hole to exploit. They're going to try to go for a little bit of a base race in the mid lane.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's a tier 1 for a potential tier 2 tower. 5 members grouped up. pucmm on the wrong side of this one. It's going to get knocked down by that shield, and it's going to force him to go back to base. This tier 2 tower with the minions there, it's going to drop, and a teleport coming out from Giggle to try and stop them, but unfortunately, tower going to drop, so they will end up trading out tower for tower.
Not in time, but they're not done yet. Oh, Stony Brook were thinking of maybe going for that right side Phoenix, but instead wanting to defend their mid lane. We're seeing the rotation from SirBomberMan. This could be a potential chase by Sanford Soccer, stopping the backs and allowing a pincer maneuver.
Look at the experience difference just in the mid lane alone. 4 levels in favor of SirBomberMan on this Zeus, and that's not where you want to see your Chang'e, is this far behind a Zeus.
It's kind of a trickle-down effect, right? Because Sanford Soccer finds an early first blood onto pucmm, and without your jungler being able to really help you out in the mid lane, your mid lane's going to fall behind as well. And not to mention, the Sylvanus making his presence known at level 1 with the Zeus, the kind of pressure that the Chang'e Ymir couldn't really stack up in that level 1.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the team composition, I mean, 2, 3 of these gods are all ones that I see. You know, I don't normally see Giggle on something like this. Amaterasu usually gets the more aggressive or really the big, beefy gods like the Xing or the Cabrakan. But with Cabrakan taken away, elected to go for this late game Amaterasu, and we were very kind of on the fence about it comparative to how they normally play.
Yeah, but it's been working out because of that early pressure that Sanford Soccer has been applying every side of the map. Not to mention, the pulls from Mortbklyn have been on point thus far.
Yeah, now looking to aggress into this tier 1, tier 2 tower into the mid lane. 4 members grouped up, and Sam off to the side does still have that ultimate online if he wants to make some form of aggressive movement into this tower.
Stony Brook seems to be playing this cautiously passive. You know, like they have this kind of a lead, but they still don't want to throw it to allow Tarrant County to get back into it because their team fight out of the order side is still very strong. But Stony Brook, Sanford Soccer in the sky looking to set up.
You might look like you're going down onto DayToRemeber here instead. It's actually just going to crash down onto Osath, stun them out, and be able to get this tier 1 tower, tier 2 tower. And this is what Stony Brook is doing. They're respecting what comes out of Tarrant County. It is still a Medusa. It is still a Chang'e. And if you get too many members hit by that waxing moon, it can turn the team fight in an instant.
Which is why Sanford Soccer instantly hammered away from the action, baiting out the Ymir for his pucmm, having to retreat into the left side jungle alongside Cardiac, teleporting through the left side, but getting chased by Giggle. This is where the movement speed really comes online from the Amaterasu.
Yeah. pucmm going to be able to get away from that one with the Gold Fury respawning one more time. Stony Brook going to be looking to further extend their lead. They're already up 12,000 gold.
That is so much here at the 20-minute mark, essentially, grabbing their 3rd Gold Fury of the game. The experience and the gold just through the roof for the Chaos side. And now, feeling confident, though, Osath was electing to try to go for the Fire Giant while Stony Brook was distracted on the left.
Dingo going to wall off 2, freeze 2 as well, but it's really not going to do too much except slow down the aggression just a little bit. But now Dingo got hit by the Heart Bomb and the Fields of Love, as well as the Dazzling Offensive, going to force him into his own ultimate. Petrification not going to do enough, and Osath's only going to be able to pick up Mortbklyn with that ultimate. SirBomberMan picks up with the detonate, and Sanford Soccer going to grab one of his own.
It's a lot of damage, so much AoE. The heals are just not available or prevalent. Cardiac going to get stunned out, but a nice little Aegis Amulet just to survive a little further. And finding these 3 kills and half kills on pucmm and Cardiac, forcing them to go back into base, allow Stony Brook to grab this Fire Giant for free. And this is going to be looking like the last nail in the coffin for Tarrant County after this has been completed.
And with no global pressure from Tarrant County, they have no way of even getting close to trying to contest that Fire Giant, as normally we see the Ravens in the soul lane. They're going to have that teleport option, but he has the Sundering Spear he picked up for his 2nd relic.
Trying to find some kills, maybe onto Mortbklyn, amplifying everyone else's damage. Trying to play the setup Raven hasn't been really working out for Tarrant County, but the good news is for them that this is a best of 3. They can learn a lot from just this game.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway from this one is they need to get pucmm onto something a little bit more aggressive, something a little bit more mobile, something he can really try and apply that pressure, because so far this Raven really hasn't done anything.
No, I would have loved to see the Raven in the soul lane trying to get a good 1v1 matchup against Giggle's Amaterasu, right? Maybe having the Ymir in that jungler role, and I thought the whole thought process there was to try to look for a lot of these walls against SirBomberMan just to try to really shut and lock him down.
Yeah, but unfortunately for them, SirBomberMan sitting 7-0 right now on the Zeus and the graphs. It's just been a slow trickle up until each objective where you can see that big spike down at a 15,000 gold advantage.
Not even finding a single kill for Tarrant County. That's got to play a toll on you mentality-wise, not being able to find anything in return. Stony Brook is just playing on point between the speed buff invades, the timings of the Gold Fury, the timing of the pressure on the soul lane in correspondence to the respawning of the Portal Demon.
Yeah, and all the way through this season, Tarrant County's kind of been the team that we've been kind of picking as this #1. But with FineOK dropping from the team as he moved into the SPL, it's kind of looked a little bit shakier for Tarrant County. And a lot of teams, they were like, yeah, we're real confident about maybe a good second place. But as soon as FineOK dropped, every single #1 seed in their division, everybody's just like, I think we can take this one. And they're looking to do it this time.
Ymir, while not going to really catch Sanford Soccer out of position, being able to hammer on through, even if he did get stunned, having the Mad Guy's blessing, 5 items complete for this Thor jungler, looking so strong right now.
Yeah, and as you can see, level 19s, 20s, 18s all across the board except for Morty, sitting level 16 right now. I mean, this is just getting out of control for Stony Brook, and really, it's going to be their game to lose as they're looking to push up this Phoenix.
Left side Phoenix, the first one targeted by the side of Stony Brook. Trying to dive the backline is going to be Giggle, zoning out the Cupid, but diving in the backline. Sanford Soccer finding one as SirBomberMan takes out Osath.
And they're looking to take down DayToRemeber as well. Dingodile being chased out, and Giggle, unfortunately, going to be able to pick up that kill for it. Now with 4 dead, pucmm the only one alive. Stony Brook commanding this first game 18-0 as they take down this Titan.
What a dominating performance out of the college team from New York. Stony Brook winning the first game in this best-of-3 set. What a wonderful performance, and all smiles from the boys of Stony Brook.
Giggle is just a treat to be around. I mean, he is just a phenomenal guy, and as you can see in that gameplay, he showed what this Amaterasu is capable of at all stages of the game, coupled up with Sanford Soccer into that one.
Sanford Soccer just doing a great job in that level 1 2v2. Not really too much that Tarrant County can do. They really have to figure things out as they head into game #2.
Yeah, I mean, this is really going to be where did we mess up in our picks and bans, and I really did like the draft from Tarrant County, but it just kind of came at a very awkward place. They didn't really... I don't think they even knew when they picked where everybody was going.
I think they had too much flexibility in their picks and bans that they would kind of second-guess themselves as to what they truly wanted to do. You know, the last couple of picks, going for this Ravana, I like the idea and the thought process there, but just executing in the jungle, it didn't seem like their practice kind of transitioned into live play here.
Yeah, and that's just, once again, with pucmm, he's more of the assassin-style jungle. He's normally a solo laner, but his assassin play in the jungle is way more powerful than it would be with really any warrior that he could have picked up.
So maybe we're going to see pucmm now transition into that assassin style. You know, losing that game #1 in such a dramatic fashion. You have to be second-guessing yourself here if you're Tarrant County.
Yeah, I mean, with an 18-0, I mean, as we said, Tarrant County has been the #1 seeded team for all of the casters throughout the AVGL. We all immediately was like, this is going to be #1 team. We're going to be seeing these guys at LAN. Stony Brook was a team that everybody was really sleeping on. They really didn't have any big thing to say about them. It's just like, oh, well, we know these guys. They kind of play Challenger Circuit, but they're really proving to us that they have the shot to beat it out here.
Well, that could be also the underdog theme, right? You know, you're considering one team to be the underdogs. There's not that much pressure on them. And then all of a sudden, they just completely wreck you because you don't truly expect this out of that team. There's a lot of footage on the side of DayToRemeber, so there's a lot of ways to study his tape to be able to really figure out the way he likes to play the laning phase, the way he likes to make the rotations. But on the side of Tarrant County, the side of Stony Brook, they're just not the same kind of footage.
Yeah, I mean, all we've really seen was Morton MandoWarrior in the Challenger Circuit, and Mando doesn't normally play the Hunter role. As we said, he's a solo laner by heart, and him bringing into this new role, there's really nothing to study on him.
Well, to be able to go from solo to Hunter, you're still basically doing a 1v1. You're still in just your island of a lane, whether it's the solo island or the duo island, it doesn't really matter. You're finding the 1v1s. Got a little bit of pressure, though, from the Medusa from DayToRemeber.
Yeah, I mean, DayToRemeber was trying to do his best to hold his team together as Mando was really trying to aggress as hard as he could on that Cupid. DayToRemeber was just stopping that aggression every single time, and really that early on gank from Mort where he used the Petrification versus the Purification, that was kind of the turning point there because he couldn't do anything in that engagement. He stopped it, but Mort, all he had to do was just rotate over and do something else in the mid lane.
All the pulls from the Sylvanus out of Mortbklyn has just been on point. That one pull specifically onto Dingodile through that Gold Fury, just allowing the rest of Stony Brook to get their first one.
I mean, this is what Mortbklyn does. He plays Sylvanus, he gets pulls. He does whatever he wants to onto that one.
Yeah, and just the control, the sheer area of effect control from Stony Brook between the Zeus, the Sylvanus, the Cupid, you could tell they really have been doing their homework for these picks and bans.
I mean, AoE is the name of the game. No matter which console or PC that you play on, everybody loves the big circles when you can stack 3 big ones and the Thor ultimate as well. 4 massive circles and a giant cone from the Amaterasu. I mean, big circles are easier to hit than small little targets.
Absolutely. And you can't forget also the double sustain between the Sylvanus and the Cupid. We haven't seen too many rotations by MandoWarrior in the earlier stages, electing to wait until that Fatalis was finished before he made the rotations. But once he did start grouping up with the rest of his teammates, those hearts and the wisps from Mortbklyn just really escalated the advantage that Sanford Soccer built in the early game.
I mean, it was more than anything just keeping Day in his lane. If you can keep DayToRemeber out of these fights, especially as a Medusa with that big petrification, that's a big win for your team. So just forcing him to stay over in that duo lane was really their name of the game.
Well, Tarrant County, as we're going to still wait for the players to get ready for Game 2 and pick some bans, having to figure out what do they stop here? Do they try to go for Sanford Soccer, taking that Thor away from him? Or do they elect to try to get the Sylvanus out of Mort's hands?
Really, I'm not sure which route they want to take here. Taking the Sylvanus off the board would probably be their best route because really you can't take anything away from Sam. He has too wide of a god pull. He's too flexible in that jungle role. So trying to take something big off of Mort is probably their best bet.
Well, definitely in the minds of Tarrant County is don't fight against Sanford Soccer at level 1 because he's definitely going to punish you.
I mean, and pull your speed buff all the way to the back. I mean, there were 2 or 3 times he tried to steal that with just the hammer and was successful on all but I think 1 account.
Just overall great performance by Stony Brook, finding the first game here in this best of 3. And what do you think the mentality is for Stony Brook as they head into Game 2?
I mean, they got that first big win. This is what they want. They want the advantage, and now it's going to be their set to lose. They only have to win 1 more. Tarrant County's got to come back and win 2 in a row.
Very taxing on Tarrant County to be able to make a comeback because they didn't find a single kill. You know, the only kind of saving grace that they had was when Stony Brook was pushing down the soul lane and Tarrant County was able to split push in the mid lane, but they didn't feel confident enough to go for that Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, neither team really did. They were both like, maybe we can go for this Phoenix, and both of them backed off of the Phoenix. They both elected, we probably need to stop the other team, and at the same time, they all just backed away from that one.
You know, better safe than sorry sometimes, a lot of players say to themselves, but if you're on the side of Tarrant County with that kind of a disadvantage, sometimes you just got to go for broke.
I mean, gotta do something. As you said, no kills in that game, and this is very surprising from Tarrant County. Between the players on there, Osath, Dingodile, and DayToRemeber, big 3 that we really talked about. They were here last time, and they handed Nodes Gaming last time, and there was nothing that Nodes Gaming could do against it, but this time, it's looking like the opposite.
And like you mentioned before, both of these teams before this first game were undefeated, so now Tarrant County experiencing their first defeat together as a team.
I mean, and Dingodile and DayToRemeber's first loss as players individually throughout the throughout the 2 seasons that they were together in that dual lane. So this is their first dual lane loss.
Well, having to adjust that kind of style, maybe we'll see the Sylvanus for Dingodile this time around, trying to alleviate a little bit of the pressure because that mid-lane Sylvanus really made a lot of pressure, made it very difficult for the Chang'e to get in position to contest those solo side jungle buffs.
I mean, we saw that early on Fafnir ban, and that was a direct shot at Dingodile, trying to take away his god pool. We known him for the Sobek, but he doesn't really elect to play that because of the early aggression of the game, and Sobek, not really the best early level 1 god.
Well, if you're going to be playing early game versus late game, you probably would want the Sobek here trying to contest that kind of style.
Yeah, I mean, I would want the Sobek too, late game, either in the solo or as the support. Sobek works out in either position. It's kind of just, do you want him to get more items online really quickly and get those extra levels in the solo lane? Or do you want him to be that big frontline tank throughout the entire stages of the game?
I'm expecting Dingodile and DayToRemeber to try to play together a little bit more in that dual lane. You know, if they do get the Sobek, just look to constantly apply a lot of pressure onto MandoWarrior. And then if they can get off to an early lead for DayToRemeber, just allow him to continue the 1v1 pressure in that dual lane.
Yeah, I mean, they just kind of left him alone in their own duo lane solo island over there. I mean, both these 2 players just kind of left alone as the rotation towards the mid lane was really where these supports were looking.
Well,